And don't forget, you are very much a part of this conversation here in this room as well. But I really want to hear from people at home because you, like me, are the ordinary man on the street. And some of it might not have made sense yesterday because, Minister, you've got such eloquent financial language. So I would like to start by welcoming you, but perhaps just in simple terms, what was the overarching message of your budget yesterday, so that the ordinary man in the street can say, okay, I understand what he meant, and what does it mean for me?
Thanks, Peter, and thank you to the organizers, New Age, and the sponsors for providing a platform for us to engage on matters of national importance. Perhaps if I were just to try and summarize the situation, we are in a challenging environment. I wouldn't want to say only economically, because I always say that an economist who doesn't understand the political environment is just as dangerous as a politician who doesn't understand the economic environment. Right. So we are in that space. I did indicate in the statement that this is a global phenomenon, but that most of the challenges are domestic. And it is the domestic ones that I think we should focus on, because those we have control over. And those we can actually make interventions that would make a change. So tough times require some tough decisions, some of which, as the editor said, might be unpalatable. But I think it is something that if we all understand the environment in which we are, it is the pain we should be prepared to take for a short while, and then be able to create the fiscal space to be able to confront the challenges that we have. So we are in difficult times, but we have a plan, and I think South Africa also has the wherewithal to be able to withstand the serious challenges that we confront.
All right, okay. Just before, we've got a few minutes literally just to set up this conversation, which will carry on just after the news. Razia Khan, Head of Research, Standard Chartered, you're based in London, but Africa is very much your point of focus. And I just wonder, the international community, were they tuned in to the mini-budget yesterday?
Well, yes, absolutely, and I think one must congratulate the Minister on his maiden medium-term budget. Expectations were exceptionally negative ahead of this budget. Everyone was focused on the weakness of South African growth. There was an anticipation that spending may have to be ramped up considerably. I think a lot of uncertainty about the level of support that might be needed for Eskom, and few would have anticipated that against that difficult backdrop, South Africa would be announcing, relative to previous plans, a cut in the expenditure ceiling, that there would be revenue mobilization measures, and that in fact the medium-term outlook for the fiscal deficit has improved considerably despite the weakness of growth. So I think for a lot of international investors looking at South Africa, a lot of the confidence has been restored. Their fears that perhaps fiscal policy was going to be expansionary for some time, that consolidation would be delayed yet again, those proved to be unfounded.
All right, okay, we're going to unpack that in layman's language after the news. But Mr. Ibrahim, your initial thoughts on what you heard yesterday from a South African perspective?
Thank you, Peter, and once again, congratulations to the Minister. I think, having seen the budget announcement yesterday, I think that we can be extremely proud of the sort of direction in which we're taking. There's definitely policy cohesion between what was announced in February and what is set out in the National Development Plan. I think that the government is by no means under any illusion as to the challenge that we face, but I think that we've outlined a good direction in which to tackle those challenges, and we've set out an exciting way forward.
All right, so we've got a minute literally to get to the news, but very briefly, Minister, are you saying that we've reached a critical point, that from this moment on we have to get things right And if we don't, what could be the consequences?
Look, we actually do not have a choice of not getting it right. We have reached that point, and if we don't take, in the past perhaps we could hope for the better, and that has not materialized. At the onset of the global economic crisis, we had built ourselves a buffer, which, though I don't think it was intentional, we had about 60 billion rands of, a surplus that had been built up. It carried us through the first years. But we were hoping that the economy would turn, both globally and domestically, and it didn't. So we continued on our counter-cyclical fiscal policy, and with the principle of debt sustainability being an issue, and intergenerational fairness and equity. But if we fail now, it's not the next generation that will pay the price. We will pay the price ourselves. So we do not have a choice.
All right.
We actually have to turn things around now.
And what can the citizens do to help in this equation? You can put in policy and strategy, but is there any role that we can play?
This is a call to action, a call that says we all have a role to play, and we have a platform in the National Development Plan. It's a long-term plan, but it has got short-term measures that if we implement and implement now, we will be able to turn around. We're calling for an economy that is going to ensure that we reduce the cost of doing business, whilst we also reduce the cost of living, particularly for the poor and the vulnerable. And that actually brings everyone into action. And we're also calling for two things in society: an active citizenry, but a professional and capable state. We want civil servants to do their part, but we want society also to play its role, to do its part. All the problems we have require that collective action that would take us into the next day.
All right, okay, we're going to pause just to take the news at the top of the hour, but there you have the opening thoughts from our panelists, including the Minister of Finance, talking about this call to action that we do not have an opportunity to get this wrong. It's that critical, but we'll find out more about what all of these things mean and how they're going to affect you going forward right after this news. So join us then, and don't forget to start tweeting your questions, and we'll put them through to Minister and the rest of our panelists. We'll see you a little bit later on.